Very good. We are recording. Oofa! That was some kind of gymnastic to be able to manage to be here, but we did. So welcome to our online friends that are joining. Julio, can you join online so you can start allowing everybody that's coming late to, because they will be asking to log in and we will be here. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you, David, for being here to help us out. And so quickly, so we can start the lecture today. So I want to introduce Juan and ask him to come here to do our initial reading, our initial prayer. Then John will be the introduction to David. And when we finish the lecture, then we will have passes. And at the end, we will provide you with some announcements of our next events. So let me just...
I need to mute.
Julio, just put on mute. Yeah, so now you are my co-host, so please allow anyone that arrived late to join. And let me put here, so... Sorry? Mute. Oh, yeah, let me see. So, yes, everybody just put all you on mute, okay? So when we finish the lecture, we will have questions and answers. Then everybody can unmute, and then you can ask your questions. So let me put here in the way that, David, you will not be able to see them, but you can see your presentation. They will be seeing you.
Can you put it here so I look at the presentation, see the audience behind? Or...
Yes, do it like this.
I was thinking more of it here.
The cord is not long.
No, I don't mention the recording, but at least I don't want to turn around. I want to try and talk to the audience and still see the screen. Would that good? Is that good?
Let me show you what they will be seeing. Come here. That's how they see you.
Okay, that's fine. I can see them in the picture. And,
you are not gonna.
Yeah,
well, unless let me see if you can change the slides here.
No, I use this. I got to click there.
You have to be in this window so you can switch your slides.
Okay.
Here.
All right.
Okay. Very good. So one.
Okay. Can I ask to read a page from the book Happy Life?
Just go backwards so they can see.
By the Spirit of John of the Angelis, channeled by Developed Creative. Never lose hope. Whatever may happen, keep believing. If everything is against you and failure threatens you with despair, even then expect divine assistance. Only what is best for us happens. The law of God is the law of love. And love can do everything and does do everything. When you think that help will not arrive in time, if you continue hoping, you will happily discover that it reached you minutes before disaster. The person who despairs has already lost part of the battle he was going to fight and goes forward at a disadvantage. Okay? Okay. Lord of infinite goodness, we ask for your blessings upon this meeting. May our hearts be open to receive the messages of love and wisdom from the spirits that protect the center and come to communicate with us. So be it. Thank you.
It's my pleasure tonight to introduce a friend. I've introduced speakers, but never a close friend. David Walkden was born in Manchester, England. You know, with his accent, everything he says is believable. Anytime I see on TV a news announcer with an English accent. It's believable, you know that. I met David when he was just starting in Spiritism like me. And maybe the universe conspires to get you together with people so you can grow together. It's been a privilege. David has a degree in physics, and he followed a career in project manufacturing management. His work gave him the opportunity for international travel, including extended assignments in Brazil, China, and finally the US. He has 3 children and 4 grandchildren and resides in North Miami Beach with his wonderful wife, Fatima, who's also a friend. What a treat. He's now retired, but he's busier than ever, both mentally, keeping abreast of current science, studying spiritism, and physically playing racquetball. One thing about David, in order to convince him of anything, he's scientific. So you really have to be very convincing and have the facts to back it up. So his presentation tonight, if anyone is skeptical after hearing his presentation, there's a problem. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to introduce David, a friend and a fellow traveler for Spiritism.
Thank you, John. Thank you. I can always rely on John to put some punches there. Well, good evening, everyone. It's really a pleasure. It's a privilege to be here. Grateful to Angy for inviting me. It's not something I do very often. I'm to be quite honest. I always like most people get nervous at speaking. So my wife, she'll start doing signals like this. And she's like,
you're already professional.
But anyway, okay. I want to start. Well, my topic of my talk today is evidence for reincarnation, and it really is following my journey into Spiritism. I met John about 14, 15 years ago now, John, when we first started. And I was very skeptical. And I came from the scientific background. To me, I had to have some proof. And I remember going to conscious living for the first time. And, it's interesting. I met some very knowledgeable people, Dr. Simone, Susanna, Dr. John over there, and others. Intelligent people. And, listen to the lectures. And then after we went to this room at the back with blue lights and this funky thing happened. I was very skeptical. But I started the journey, and the more I got into it, the more I liked it. And my path really getting into Spiritism was really studying evidence for reincarnation. And there's a lot of evidence out there. There's a lot more evidence today than when I first started 14 years ago. So, evidence for reincarnation and the existence of the spiritual world. And my objective tonight, I've talked to Angy. I think, obviously, all of you are interested in Spiritism. You wouldn't be here, but some of been here involved in Spiritism for a long time, maybe born into a Spiritist family. But what I really want to do is share my journey, not because my journey is very special, but I think it might open your ideas and open your mind to what is possible if you're like me, coming into it a little skeptical. So, overview of my journey from when I was basically a scientist, an atheist, agnostic, and now ardent scientist. And I'm trying to bring
here, it should be. Let me see. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll advance it.
Yes.
Can you see now? Okay, so here they see it. Okay.
Okay. I'm losing the bottom of. How do I move it up and down?
Yeah, I wanted them to
presentation mode, right?
They see presentation mode, but I don't know why it's.
I mean, I can look at the screen, but
why it's not
face the audience. That's all.
Okay.
I try advancing.
Where? No, if you do that, they are not seeing it. It's not changing. They are not seeing the modifications. That was the problem. They are not seeing the advancement of the presentation.
Você tem que compartilhar a tela para ele estar compartilhando também.
Okay, so my goodness, what an adventure. Okay, so let me just share again.
Compartilhar o que você vai mostrar lá.
Yeah, that's
não é isso.
Yes, evidence. That's the one. Here.
Yes. Now we put on slide. Yes.
Yes.
It's changed now? Okay.
So that's going good. Okay, and finally, you know, I'm hoping to whet your appetite, but hopefully get you motivated.
No, you have extra time now. A lot of extra time.
Okay, so I want to start off with my personal journey. I just mentioned by John, I was born in Manchester, in England, and to very loving and caring parents. But my mother was just a housewife, never worked, and my father was, well, he went to a sort of technical college and had a good career. But my life in England and with my family, there was no religion. The only religion is maybe weddings and funerals and visiting. This is York Minster, where I went to university, but never had. It was really devoid of any religious contact. I mean, even when I reflect on my family, the English is not very physical. You know, when I moved to Brazil and then spent time in Brazil, and went back and I gave my father a hug. He was, you know, that was just the nature, you know. But anyway, went up to university at 18. I went to York, but it was a time in the late 60s, a really exciting time to be growing up as a late teenager in university. But it was also the times of the troubles, that they called it, in Northern Ireland with the Catholics and Protestants, and you know, some pretty terrorist killings and bombings. But it was also a time of the hippie movement, a time of the Vietnam War, and the students, you know, protesting, similar to what's happening today with Gaza. And again, the more I went through my life, the more skeptical I got, especially when, you know, it's had the Islamic Revolution and then the things in the Catholic Church and the views in the Catholic Church. It really, much as I tried, I was not indifferent. In fact, I was really trying to find something, but nothing that really connected with me. So fast forward from the 60s to, you know, the 1960s to me in my 60s, and went through a few personal issues and change of jobs and the children growing up and the divorce, and found 60s, well, you know, something's not far away now, right? I mean, there's only two things certain in life. You pay your taxes and you're going to die, right? So I started to look for something different, and actually my ex-wife said, come to the Spiritist Center. So that was my journey to there. But after a few weeks of going to the lectures, Danielle Sissi came and gave a lecture on reincarnation, and that's what really triggered my interest, really gave it my aha moment, and I started doing more and more research. But I had to be convinced. I wanted to find out what is the modern science, what can it show us, what can it show us about the spirit world and reincarnation. So I'm going to start off with a historical perspective, and actually I'm going to give just a short piece from another book by Joanna De Angelis, who was a spirit psychograph by Developable Frankel, the opening today. And in this book, Glorious Days, an amazing book. One thing I find today in Spiritism, in English, there is a vast amount of material there. When I first started 15 years ago, it was basically just the 5 books of Allan Kardec. But nowadays, there's a lot more books. And particularly Joanna De Angelis, she writes a lot of books that are very current, right? I mean, the last one talks about COVID and why COVID and what's happening. And in this book, it's made of, there's lots of different chapters. She talks about genetic engineering, sex change, a lot of really topical and often controversial things that are happening, and trying to explain it from the Spiritist perspective. But in this one chapter on A Brief History of Reincarnation, she starts up by saying the following: as far as humans are able to remember, evidence about the immortality of the soul and reincarnation is present in almost all peoples, cultures, ethnicities, and social groups, constituting one of the oldest demonstrations about the reality of beings, which are not just purely circumscribed to a clump of cells and cartilage in the molecular conformation. In other words, it's not just about a physical body, right? There's something else. And it's been in all, whatever civilization you look at, from the ancient Greeks to the all the ancient Greek philosophers to the Egyptians and so on, reincarnation is always there, no matter what humanity, what ethnicity you're looking at. And she goes on to say, this saga, the knowledge of eternal values, is the result of the inspiration that immortals always gave to their peers on earth. So again, she's talking about how the spirit world is always trying to inform us about the immortality of the soul. Through spiritual communications, we were taught about life before and after the phenomenon of birth and death, giving rise to the evolutionary mechanism in a constant come and go, thanks to which coarse matter can release an angel by way of reincarnation. She writes really poetically and some really impactful words. All right, so what I'm talking about today, I've just covered a little bit about the historical aspects, but I'm going to go through another 7 aspects here. Past life memories in young children, and that's what really got me going when I started studying about reincarnation. And there's a lot, even more now so than there was when I first started 15 years ago. Past life memory regression, we're going to talk about that. Near-death and out-of-body experiences. That's something that is getting more and more apparent because of the way in which modern medicine today and resuscitation, people who even died, you know, no heart, no blood pumping, no breathing, even no brain activity, 6-7 hours, but they still can be revived. And a lot of these, well, a percentage of these patients come back with memories of some experience in touching the spiritual world. I'm going to talk a little about nature and nurture. This is something that I love, looking at evolution and Darwinism and how the human race evolved. And when I look at my grandchildren, you see 2 children who are born to the same parents with the same pool of DNA, but come with totally different personalities, talents, attributes. Yeah. So why? You know, is there something else? Child prodigies, and we're going to just, I've got a short 2-minute movie on that, and it's just amazing. Some of the children. In fact, I was reading this morning that a girl from Arizona became the youngest girl to get a doctorate at 17 from the University of Arizona. So 17 got a doctor's degree, a doctorate. I shouldn't say doctor's degree. Societal progress. Maybe that's a little bit hard to take in today's times of conflict and COVID and climate change, the big C's. But when you step back and you look at it over a period of time, society is progressing. And we know from the spiritist literature that we're in a time of transformation. And sometimes we have to go down before we can pull ourselves up again. But finally, perhaps the most convincing is the mediumistic communications. I'm going to talk a little bit about Chico Xavier, the 2 big Brazilian mediums, and what their contribution is. Okay, so past life memories in young children. This started with Ian Stevenson 50 years ago. He was actually the youngest professor of psychology at the University of Virginia. And he had this interest always. His wife was friendly with, was the wife of Charter Cheston, I think his name is, the inventor of the Xerox machine. And he gave a sizable grant to him to go to mainly Sri Lanka and India, which are cultures that do believe in reincarnation, but to investigate cases where young children have these, as soon as they reach the age of 2, 3, they start to remember things. You know, I remember where I used to live, and I remember my mum and dad, and you know, there's a red door, and you know, things like this. And it followed through and built up this huge library, doing it for 50 years now. But he founded this division of perceptual studies. It's now expanded. It's in the University of Virginia. And it includes other research into this paranormal. But again, with the idea of looking at, is there evidence that the consciousness survives the death of the physical body? Again, they documented over 3,000 cases of past life memories in young children. And in those, there are, I think, more than 200 now of children that have birthmarks or even defects that are related to when they've researched through and they found out these memories and traced back to the person, the previous reincarnation. Usually they died in some tragic form, an accident, a gunshot wound, and often the birthmarks and defects reflected, they were carried over, as we say, especially in the perispheric to the next life. So very good evidence. And again, all these 7 points I'm going to bring up, they're all strong evidence, but not proof. I mean, maybe collectively, I think there is proof because it really is quite convincing. There's one case here in the US, James Laninger. I don't know if you've heard of this, but again, if you just Google this. Oh, and by the way, I started, I haven't finished, but I'm putting together a list of all the references, and if you could just send your email through Angy, And I can send it to you. All you do is click on it, and you can send it to a podcast or a TED Talk, or that's very. And there's some great films. I was watching one today about this particular case. But this case was a boy born to parents in Louisiana, and very educated parents. His mother was a ballet teacher, now ballet, but she was actually a professional ballet dancer and a ballet teacher, and his father's out of the oil industry, executive in Louisiana, very intelligent. Mother was very strong Catholic and did not believe in reincarnation. Father was an atheist, like an agnostic atheist like me, no way. But their son, when he was 2 years old, he started having tremendous nightmares, really frightening nightmares. So bad, and they were 2 or 3 times a week. They got help, tried to get help, psychological help. Brought in a psychologist called Carol Bowman, who's done a lot of work with young children. And after a while, she said, maybe it's a case of a past life memory. And they both rejected the parents. But when the child started to get to 2 and 3, like your son and my grandson had started to talk, and then the kid was started to say things, and he showed this interest in players. And he'd lie down on the floor and start kicking up and said, "Plane on fire, plane on fire, plane on fire. Little man can't get out." And the parents got more and more. But as the child advanced, he started drawing pictures of planes crashing. Eventually, the father took him to a museum, and he saw planes. And the little boy was saying, "Oh, this is that," and he was going around in his. I mean, when you watch the video, it is very, very convincing. So this is the James Houston, and this is little James Leninger. But eventually, long story short, father was able through the child, when he started giving more and more information. He talked about the aircraft carrier where his boat was, landing and taking off, and he traced back. And one day he gave him 2 GI dolls. He named these dolls. I can't remember, Walton and Sean, and the sort of names that the son had never been exposed to. But the father traced back and was able to go back to James Houston. These 2 names of the dolls were friends, and eventually contacted the sister of James Houston. The boy went in the house and said, "Well, in the attic upstairs, there's a picture that your mother drew of you, and I want to see it." And it was James Houston coming through him saying, and sure enough, the sister found this picture drawn by the mother in the attic. And the sister didn't know about it. So very convincing, but again, watch the film; it's exceptional. So I just want to go back to reincarnation. This is again through Joanna D'Angelis. The reincarnation process starts at the moment of conception, continues through gestation, when the action of the spirit through the perispirit molds the material body. So the perispirit is that link between the spirit and the physical material body. At birth, awareness of the previous life is lost, the spirit retaining all its intelligence and moral advancement. But she goes on to say, some vestiges of memories of a past life or lives are still accessible during early childhood and continue to the beginning of adolescence, when the complementary characteristics are set in. So as a child grows older, gets more and more influenced by his environment, and that memory fades. And that's normally the case, though these children have these memories, but only until about 7 or 8. Now, that being said, there are some people who have, in a previous life, had a really tragic, disturbing death, and have phobias that are still residing. And Brian Weiss wrote this book of 1450. In fact, we saw him, John, right? In the book for Miami Book Fair. He has another book with his daughter after this. But he's now retired, a psychiatrist here at the University of Miami. But he would still treat patients, and he had one patient, his patient Catherine, and this is from the back of the book. And she had such severe phobias, it was really, detrimental to her lifestyle. She couldn't really operate. And he said, "One day, do you mind if I tried hypnosis?" And he took her back, and over a period of sessions, she started to reveal all these past life memories. But what convinced Brian Weiss more than anything else is that one day, while she was in the trance, she said, "Oh, by the way, there's a little boy here. He wants to let you know." She said his name. "He's okay. Don't worry about him." Now, Brian Weiss had a son who died when he was, I think, 7 years old. And it was nothing published. It's when the patient came back out of hypnosis, she did not remember saying whatever she said, but obviously she was having connections with the spirit world. So again, and this the technique now of past life regression is well accepted in the the medical community. Although again, in Joanna Giannis talks about it, she's saying it's something that should be used in real serious phobias, real serious cases. It's not something just for mild curiosity. It can be dangerous. So that's another aspect. Now, near-death experiences. Again, as I mentioned earlier, because of the advances in CPR and medical procedures now, a bit more people, probably 30 years ago, would have died. No way coming back. But now they'll be able to be brought back with the medical equipment and techniques. These are some of the characteristics of commonalities of people who go through a near-death experience. And again, just Google near-death experience on the web, and you'll find many, many cases. So being dead, positive emotions, out-of-body experiences, cases of patient looking down on the body in the operating theatre, telling stories about one case. She saw her husband go next door and eat a sandwich, and she related this afterwards. And how did she know that? But she had this out-of-body experience, and she could see things are happening. Nurses who dropped instruments on the floor accidentally, and patients who again come back with a near-death experience were able to say, relate all that. But generally, they're mostly positive. 10%, about 10% now, statistically, patients who go through a resuscitation come back with a memory, and most of them are very positive too. Okay, the medical profession now acknowledge. In fact, there's one experiment in many hospitals now where above the ceiling tiles they put letters, just C, letter D, whatever, and some patients afterwards, and the doctors didn't even know they were there, could see these letters. So again, interesting. Again, positive experience. There are some patients who come back as well with a negative experience, but most of them come back, and some life-changing. Some people change the whole lifestyle. The work is ongoing. Bruce Grayson is part of that team at the University of Virginia. There's also a quarterly journal, and there's a book by Eben Alexander. He was a neurologist, and had meningitis, and he was ill for a week. And there's also some controversies as well. There's a lot of criticism on Eben Alexander in terms of his medical profession before, but that's another story. And you always find skeptics, right? Whatever subject on the paranormal or whatever, there's always those that debunk it. Talking about nurture and nature. And again, I mentioned this earlier, but I just find it so fascinating to see children grow up with that same DNA pool, same loving parents, but yet have that total difference in personalities and talents, aptitudes. Certainly with my grandchildren, we don't see very often because they live in Australia, but we'll be seeing next month. But it's amazing to see how they've developed in their own ways. Child prodigies. I just want to show this 2-minute video. I just click here, do you think, or
yeah?
Let's hopefully it connects. Oops, you're going backwards. Let me go back.
Did you put the video itself in the presentation?
Yeah, I had the link in my presentation.
Okay, the link is not showing. Do you know the name of the? The link is not showing here. It's showing as an image.
Oh, right. All right, well, we'll do with that. In my listing of references, I'll include that.
Why we do questions and answers? I can search for them.
Okay, yeah, it's worthwhile seeing. This is really good. This is an ABC one. It's only 5 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, but it's just amazing to see some of the young children. It was in this video. There's a performance of a 7-year-old playing Mozart at Carnegie Hall. This girl here, Alma Deutscher, she composed an opera when she was 9, and written some amazing music. And just to listen to him, hear her talk, oh my gosh, it's just. In fact, 3 months ago, she wrote a concert in memorial of the Gaza, October the 10th, and again, very moving piece of music. So, and this particular compares this Alma with Mozart. You know, Mozart, when he was 5 years old, he composed so much, he's done more, and so on and so forth. Okay, societal progress. Go back to Genesis here, the 5th book of Kardec's, and in chapter 10 on organic Genesis, it talks about, you know, the DNA and how the body's evolved, and then in chapter 11 there's a spiritual Genesis, and he says the following: the principle of reincarnation is a necessary consequence of the law of progress. Without reincarnation, how can one explain the differences between the present societal state and that of times of barbarism? If souls are created at the same time as the body, then those being born today are as new and primitive as those who lived 1,000 years ago. You know, seems sensible, right? Adding to the fact that there would be no connection or necessary relationship between the two groups, and that would be completely independent of each other, why then are souls today better endowed by God than those of their predecessors? Why do they possess greater understanding? Do they possess finer instincts? Why do they possess finer instincts and gentler customs, when they do have an intuition about certain matters without having learned them? And it's true when you think about it, right? Now, again, in today's society and everything that's going on in the world, it's sometimes difficult to really comprehend, is this God's love? You know, we're going through such conflicts. But I think you have to take a long point of view. And I love this book by Steven Pinker. He's a cognitive psychologist at Harvard. But he's written many books, and you've actually seen him on TED Talks, and there's a lot of. But in this book, he does a complete study. It's about 800 pages. He does a complete study of all from records of when humankind started, going back to in this historical records. And today, when you look at the metrics of, you know, things about life expectancy, number of childbirths, and so on and so forth, but all the metrics you look at, society is improving enormously. You have to step back. The problem is when we look back in time, we always look back in rose-tinted glasses, right? We always think, oh, the good old days, you know. But in reality, things were much worse. I mean, if I was giving this talk 200 years ago, I'd probably been burned at the stake for preaching witch hunt or something, you know. So things are moving. So hang in there and don't get, as I sometimes do, I watch the news and I think, oh my gosh, what's this world coming to? But finally, and perhaps the most convincing of all the arguments, is mediumship. I just wanted to briefly mention Chico Xavier, and then later on Divaldo Franco, two amazing mediums. And why, I also asked the question, why did the center of spiritism really move to Brazil? Brazil is still the main hub of the main activity in spiritism. There are more followers in Brazil than anywhere else, although, you know, spiritism is spreading across the world now. But looking at Chico Xavier, and who had virtually no education, who was also talking to his deceased grandmother at 4. He suffered a lot at school because he was ridiculed, thought he was crazy. His first major psychograph work was by very famous Brazilian and Portuguese poets who actually wrote poems through him and compiled his first book, Messages from the Grave. And it got a lot of ridicule, but it was also very good, as a good marketing. It's a good book to start with, right? And since then, there's been a lot of analysis of those poems that really go into detail from people who, you know, literary experts, and can confirm that the style of the poem followed the styles of the poets that were previously incarnated. Psychographed 490 books, 1,000 letters. All, again, he kept a very simple life. All the proceeds went to the Spiritist Federation in Brazil. And particularly worthy of note, he wrote a series of books psychographed through Andre Luiz, who was a doctor in the previous life and talked about things in the spirit world regarding to medicine and so forth. And in fact, those books were written in the 1950s. And some of the things he said at the time about the pineal gland, for instance, which is supposed to be the center of the connection with the spirit world, were unknown at the time. And yet he wrote it, you know, in the 1950s. So, and the other one I just mentioned a bit about is Divaldo Franco. Actually, it was in Orlando a couple of months ago at the Spiritist Federation Symposium. 97 years young and still going strong. Amazing, amazing. founder of this, what's that, House of the Way, which is, you know, reflect Peter and the disciples, but he has a huge charity. It's almost a city now, and he has about 6,000 people coming in, children, they have schooling, everything. Psychograph 220 books, and a lot of different spiritual authors as well. Joanna Jandi's being the current one of the most prolific. Travel worldwide, giving speeches, and still again, 97 still traveling. This when he was, there's actually some video to the list when there was an international spiritist symposium in Paris in I think 2004, and he was there. And at the end, he was giving a closing prayer, and he started to channel what turned out to be Leon Denis, who was the consolidator after Allan Kardec, wrote some very good books. But he psychographed, you know, the message in French. He doesn't speak French, but also in verse. When they first saw the message, what's this? And they had to turn it to light and convert it. He actually did a mirror image of a message in French. It's filmed. Even now I get used to believing that, you know. But again, I think more and more evidence of the connection with the spirit world. And he gave us a big talk to the United Nations last year as well. So those are the topics I've covered. I don't know if I've helped convince you a little bit more about there is scientific evidence. It certainly convinced me and certainly motivates me to learn more. Sometimes I step back and say, well, what is Spiritism? And this is the opening of the Spirits book. You know, actually, Kardec calls it the spiritualist philosophy. And the principles are concerned the immortality of the soul, the nature of spirits and the relationships with humankind, moral laws, the present life, the future life, and destiny of humanity, according to the teachings given by highly evolved spirits through several mediums, received and coordinated by Allan Kardec. And I like to think, you know, we've talked about Spiritism is really based on three foundations: science, philosophy. I don't like to say religion, because religion tends to be a dogmatic belief you have to believe. So spirituality and morality. And again, I often question, well, is it really based on science? You know, when you think of science, you observe, you come up with a theory, what happens, maybe write an equation, and then you set up an experiment, and you run the experiment, and you get the results, either proves or not the hypothesis, and it has to be repeated. Fortunately, with the information that's coming about spiritualism, it's coming through mediums, and the telephone rings from there to here, but not the other way around. We just cannot, you know, call spirits when we need them or when we want them. But the way Kardec approached it, and he has that brilliant line, was to organize different questions, go to qualified mediums, you know, screen the mediums, and then have these questions, same questions sent to many, many different mediums. Very, very scientific and rational way to put together the Spirit's teachings. And still today, 150 years later, it's a book that, you know, I read often, and every time you read, as your level of knowledge of Spiritism grows, you see more and more in that. So what he's done for me, Spiritism? Well, I put a few things together here. It's this good exercise. I went through this slide today or yesterday, and sense of purpose. You know, it seems to have more meaning in life now. You know, it seems more direction. Yeah, reduce fear of death. I've got a fear of dying. I think we all have, but fear of death. Well, you know, I'm quite looking forward to seeing what's around the corner there. We'll get there. Responsibility, and that's a double-edged sword, right? You know, yes, you just realize that you're what is going to happen. It's because of your actions, right? Action and reaction, you know, cause and effect. Easier social interactions. I'm more tolerant of people, I hope. More patient, you know, less judgmental. You know, don't point, and you're pointing three things at yourself when you're pointing to someone else. And friendships. I met a lot of good friends. So what can Spiritism do for you? Well, it's up to you. Up to you. But I'm wishing you all many happy and productive reincarnations. So, that's all I've got. Thanks for your patience. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So now that we are finished with the PowerPoint, we would like to open up to anyone that would like to actually ask a question or make a comment. So yeah, okay.
And John will answer the question.
Oh, okay. So anyone that wanted to, so
you all here, if you want to mute yourself and ask a question or make a comment, do so. Let's see here first, and then I go back to online. Yes, wait, John and then Juan. John, go ahead.
David, in your studies here, it always amazes me that something as simple and so backed by facts like reincarnation, it seems still in America that when you talk to the average person and talk about reincarnation, you had Brian Weiss, we have all this thing, it's still kind of really, could something like that happen? Do you see in your research that this is being widely accepted, getting better acceptance, or is it just flowing slowly?
I think, well, two aspects. There's a Pew Research, I think it's a biannual survey of Americans about what do you think about after death. And it's more than 6% of the American population believe there is something after death. Right? There's that belief, you know, does consciousness survive the death of the physical body? I think that's very strong. But it's definitely, and it frustrates me from the scientific community, that there's so much, you know, high-level scientists I listen to on podcasts and discussion groups, that it just, there's no way, they just don't open their, and yet, here the scientists saying, what we see today is only 5%. The other 95% is dark matter and dark energy, right? They accept that, right? It's unknown. So, you know, and I'm hoping that maybe, hopefully this lifetime, that science will, there's a convergence, there's definitely convergence. And this consciousness and survival of consciousness and the work's going on to see what is dark matter. Dark matter, spiritual, who knows? I don't know, but there's something there.
Once you open the door for reincarnation, it opens the door to better understanding. It opens the door to more responsibility. Absolutely. So it's
it explains so much about, you know, why some people are born in this way, in this situation. You know, there's so much we can learn in lifetime, but multiple lifetimes. It's that whole path of going through from, you know, infant school to graduate school, and so on. It's just a learning process, and it really makes sense to me in the philosophical point of view.
Juan?
It's sort of the other side of the coin that John was asking about. But to what do you attribute the fact that despite this large body of evidence, things seem to be so clear? Why is it that Spiritism is still relatively unknown?
It is, you're right.
There's such resistance throughout the world to even want to discuss the subject. What do you think about that?
I ask myself the same question. I really do. I think it's frustrating from, you know, 160 years since Kardec, that really it's still, you know, you look at the major religions, it doesn't even show that. That being said, I mean, there's probably more Spiritism than Jewish folks than, you know, traditional Jewish. Yeah, I mean, there's only probably about 50 women doing Jewish, as Spiritist followers. So I don't know. I think Spiritism has, it's not like the other religions, where, you know, they're not like the Jehovah's Witnesses knock on my door every Saturday morning trying to convince me and getting the girl, you know, leave a little pamphlet and all that like. But Spiritism is, you know, it's not something you can force on someone. Right? You know, you can listen to this talk, but you have to delve into it yourself, and that's a journey. That's so fascinating. But it'll come. It'll come. And you know, there's a convergence of other religions as well. I mean, I don't think Spiritism is the answer, but the core concept that John was saying, reincarnation.
Is there anything that can be done to spread the word?
I don't know the answer to that. I wish I did. Like when we went to Orlando, and the theme was Jesus in our days, and I was thinking, oh, good, you know, you're going to bring some answers about what's happening in the Middle East and all these things that are going on. And it was very nice, but I was a little disappointed in the way that it didn't bring those sort of answers, you know. But, you know, then we do 600 people in Orlando at that conference. And now, again, there's an international spiritist movement, websites that can offer all this on the listing. So a lot of material on that. But it'll come, you know, it'll come. Oh, maybe not in this lifetime. But,
yeah, so that there are many things involved. First, because Spiritism is relatively a baby, because Allan Kardec. How can I say? Allan Kardec codified this in the 1800s, not thousands of years ago, like certain religions that we know, like even Catholicism over 2,000 years ago. So Spiritism in this sense is a baby. And then the ones who study Spiritism know that it traveled from Europe to Brazil, Portuguese base, very strong Portuguese base, and then travel to other countries in America relatively young. As David mentioned, 10 years ago, we had 5 books. So imagine 5 books. And until nowadays, most of the Spiritist centers are in Portuguese, 100% in Portuguese. And then some Spiritist centers have 1 day of activity in English, and very rare to be like here, that all activities are only in English. So this is actually what we need. You need to plant seeds that Americans and non-English, non-Portuguese speakers can understand. And as David mentioned, it's not a religion, it's a philosophy of life. And it's hard to people to understand that you can have any religion and still understand Spiritism, but it's hard. People always put this in the box of some kind of religion, and also proudness from man, like a scientist, for example. If I can prove, I don't accept it. And there are many things that cannot be proved yet, soon, but yet not. And if they don't accept most of facts, like for example, science never says it's proven. It says have a lot of evidence that brings to certain conclusions, but they don't say it's proven.
usually said, there's no such thing as absolute.
Exactly.
Truth.
So it's like
so relative to what
that's
you know.
that even the scientists who understand Spiritism, they have to be very careful to be accepted, although the scientific community takes them out.
And there's nothing about, science, Spiritism, and here in the US, it tends to be small centers. In fact, when a center gets, we need to clone Angy so we can make lots of centers. But that's the idea, I guess we're not interested in making a mega church, right? It's all volunteers, everybody contributes to pay the rent or whatever.
Yes.
And it'll go.
Yeah, little by little. We need more people like you so we can create more. So here, anyone online that would like to ask a question to David? Anyone else here would like to ask a question? No? So David, I know you mentioned that you were a skeptic, and then you were brought to the Spiritist Center and you still didn't accept. It was like strange, difficult. And then you saw Danielle, my friend, Danielle Assisi, giving a lecture, and it clicked. Yeah. What was exactly that clicked? Was some kind of scientific evidence?
Certainly when talked about Stevenson and past life memory in young children. I think also, which I didn't really delve into, but the philosophical side of it, the existential question of why am I here? What am I doing? What happens when I die? That really brings a lot of, to me, comfort as well. And then the morality side, the spiritual side, it's based on the teaching of Jesus. And if we all could do unto others as we want them to do unto us, my God, this will all be a better place, right? And he was the master, he was the teacher, but we have to put it into practice.
And I think your experience in mediumistic treatment.
Yes. That was after 10 years. We had a mediumistic group in English, Angy, one of the practices of InnerLight. And that was an eye-opener too. The first time I saw Patchen as a medium. And the first time I saw having receiving a spirit, I was so shocked because the personality changed. It was
So wait, let's give some backgrounds here. So just for you guys that are listening here, Fatima and I, we are mediums, and David in the time. Well, this is before my time, but I'm talking when in my time. And so David was a dialoguer in one of the many, many meetings. And usually John was there as well. And John always received the easy spirits, very calm, soft. And me and Fatima, we channel the very tough cookies, the very difficult ones. And sometimes, you know, the voice change, the body language change, and the stories. Oh my goodness. So yes, it can be very challenging. I can just imagine you seeing Fatima channeling and you're not fully prepared. Surprise! Yes, it can be different, very different. So, my friends, any questions? Nothing? Can we close? Very good. So, any questions here? Closing? Very good. So we are gonna go to the passage now, and when we Nachi, can you turn off that light, please? And when we finish, we will go back here just to do our final announcement. So my online friends, put your water to be blessed, and then we can all benefit from this moment together. Okay. So, João, can you invite 4 by time? So let me just put some music for us. So now we are going to go through the second phase of our meeting. We invite all of you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Let's relax. And at this moment, we ask the help of the invited spirits to come closer to all of us, especially to the past givers, who will be transferring all these good vibrations to our brothers and sisters who are here, well, to our brothers and sisters in their homes, so they can all benefit from it. We also ask these good vibrations to be transferred to their waters. So this will be a medication that will help them to feel stronger, happier, healthier. So at this moment, we ask all of you to focus your thoughts in these vibrations. Think about God, goodness, that you would like to give strength. So anything that connects your thoughts in a positive way. If you know someone that is feeling sick and you would like to transfer vibrations to them, this is also an opportunity to fix your thoughts on this person. So the good vibrations that you will be receiving will be transferred to him or her as well. Thank you. So be it.
So now that we are finishing our meeting for tonight, we would like to thank the enlightened spirits for the good experience. We would like to ask the spirituality to help all of us to keep within us all these teachings that our friend David helped us in this beautiful summary, all this evidence. So if there is something that we still don't understand, let's ask the spirituality to help us so we can research a little bit more. But we also, during our sleep, we can ask our guardian angel to have a conversation with us, maybe opening up our minds, clarifying points that we still don't understand. So little by little, this will help our hearts, our spirit to open up to ideas that may be still a little different and a little difficult to grasp. But most of all, thank you so much for all the good vibrations and for the knowledge that we received tonight. So be it.
Good. So let's turn on the light.
Let's see, you can search on Google, on YouTube for child prodigies.
Oh, so if you want, you can search in. Do you want to? Is
YouTube? Yeah.
So what's the name of the video?
No, it's not. Well, just child prodigies. Child prodigies.
Prodigies. Is
I see if I can recognize the one that I thought. They're all good, but
I was searching for the one you mentioned, but I couldn't find.
that's the girl. But no, it's people. It's quite a recent. It came up first of mine today. Oh well.
Yeah.
Just go back to that one with the girl, and you can perhaps search her name. That one.
This one.
She's got her name. No. You can put that one on. She's
Alma
Deutsch. Yeah, Deutsch.
So okay, let me search. Alma Deutscher. Okay, let's see. This one?
That's the one, I think.
13 minutes?
Yes, yes.
So let me skip this.
Are you going to make me something? Are you going to make me something else?
I will. I'll put it. Yeah.
Okay, just they are watching it. Okay, they are online watching. So is this the?
That's the one I was going to. I think this is a longer version. I had a 2-minute version. That's okay. Just get a flavor.
So let me just.
I didn't hit me. I'll send it in an email form. So I'll send it to Angy, and you can.
Wait, let me just talk to them. So group, they so I will find the video that David just mentioned that he would like to share. So this one that he showed is 13 minutes. Maybe there is another one.
I think it's the 2 minutes. I've had it 2 minutes.
It's like 2 minutes. So I will be sharing, but this is the girl that he mentioned, Alma Deutscher. So I will be sharing this link with you in our Mia InnerLight WhatsApp group, and then when he provides the other link, smaller link, I can provide it as well. So now that we are just finishing, I just wanted to remind all of you that we are gonna be First of all, thank you so much to anyone who donated and who helped to pack or deliver the boxes to Brazil. It was a very, very big project. We created 75 very large boxes of donations that were already delivered and will be delivered in Brazil at some point. So thank you so much. Most of you know the terrible problem that disaster that happened in south of Brazil of the flood. And we will be in June 23rd. We will be doing a nursing home performance in the Villa Maria nursing home here in Miami on 125th Street. So if any one of you would like to participate, if you know how to sing, dance, do malabaris, anything,
please let me know. And if you don't know anything else, please let me know. I will help you. And you will discover your inner artist. It's always a pleasure to bring smiles to their faces. And even if we are not professional, they always think we are. And we leave the nursing home feeling that we really can go to Broadway. So if you wanna, you can watch videos of our past performances. They were really, really nice. And most of all, they absolutely loved it. So if you wanna, even if you wanna pull a wheelchair, let me know and you can participate. This Sunday, this Thursday, Sonia, is this the last book club? Okay, so Thursday from 9 to 10 p.m. will be our last book club of the book Renunciation. It's an amazing book, amazing book. So it's the last 2 chapters. So we will be doing a summary. If you'd like to join, you can just get the link. We have in our WhatsApp group, you have the link as well. And oh, everybody was asking about books. How can I buy the book? So we have the books, the Spirits book by Allan Kardec and the Medium's book, and we sell here in the center. So you don't need to order online. If you'd like to have, just let us know. We have books. And the last thing is that we sell little food, little hors d'oeuvres. If you would like to purchase, and the money from your purchase will help the Spirit Center. This is not free, not free. We pay rent, and it's not free, because a lot of people, they think because it's the Spirit Center and it's a non-profit organization, it somehow is free. One day, but right now, no. And as David mentioned, the ones that know Spiritism, we don't charge for anything. Everything we do is free. It's based in volunteering, but we still have to pay bills and many things, even to membership of many Spiritist organizations we have to pay as well. So any financial help, it's very welcome. So go put your bellies full of food and help our center. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, my friends. See you Thursday. Bye. Bye, Bridget, Sonia, Sandra.
Bye-bye.
Leo. Thank you.
Bye-bye.